As with any audio recording or collection of audio files, occasionally you're going to find faults and problems that need to be solved before you start mixing them. And this project's pretty clean and it's turned out pretty well, but there are some things that I'd like to tighten up before we get going. Now, some of these are going to involve fades and some of them are going to involve trimming, and we're even going to start applying some of our initial processing here to gate out some noise. Now, right at the beginning, for instance, we've got some count-in hats that I want to get rid of. And this is the sort of thing, that you want to sort of address before you get going. And it's best that if you're going to start trimming things that you trim all the audio files that you're using. So you can see these count-in hats are just easily removed by just trimming that start section there. And I will just take the solo off that I've got going here. And play back the result. That's great. So that's one problem sorted already. And then right at the end, I think there's some noise on the bass that I caught. And these are really minor problems, but you want to get them sorted before you start limiting things and making these issues louder. So we can trim this and we can apply the fade that I showed you right at the beginning. And then we can solo the bass and just make sure it's a clean ending. Nothing wrong with a bit of live sound, but you don't really want any clicks and pops. Now, this can be the case with digital files, that exports of audio instruments, software instruments, or recordings. You really want to look out for clicks, pops, faults, and I've gone through every single audio file and everything's fine. One problem I did notice, however, was that the tom track, or the tom mics, are pretty loud. They were mixed pretty loud, and the toms were pretty quiet. So we've got, not a huge amount of difference between the leakage in the tom and the tom itself. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Right here, you can sort of see the audio file is pretty loud throughout. And the toms, there is some impact, but we want to make sure that we're not getting this leakage all the way throughout the track. And it's the same with the high tom and the low tom. And I'm going to put them together so you can see what I mean. So realistically, what we want to do is we want to gate this noise out. Now, what we can use is the actual console dynamics section. And I'm going to go right to that now. And if we just scroll up the mixer, you can see here, we've got a dynamics section and below it a gate. And the gate's the one we're going to want to use. And I'm going to attack the floor tom first. So let's solo that and mix it up. Now I'm going to play you without the gate first. And you'll be able to hear what I mean. And I'll be able to show you the problem that we're having. So this is the leakage that we can hear right now. And we don't really want this because the overhead mics and the direct snare mics and the kick mics are already picking this up with no problem. What we actually want is the tom hit itself. There we go. So it's quite subtle, but we can actually isolate this because it's louder than the noise bed, than the noise floor. So let's go back to the mixer here. And now we're going to switch the gate on. And I want the reduction at the beginning to be pretty intense. So we're going to go minus 30 odd dB. And then what we need to do is start tuning the threshold. Now, at the minute, you can see that the gate is on because you're seeing all these green lights, and that's the gain reduction. So we're getting a full whack of gain reduction there. I've got the hold on 0, and I'm going to leave the release at its default value. Now, if we put fast attack on, this means that it's able to snap into fast transients. And because we're using drums, we really want to switch that on so that the gate quickly opens up when the tom hits. Now, we can see at the minute, the gate's sort of flashing on and off. And this is no good, really. We really want to completely eradicate this noise. So what we need to do is change the threshold. Now we've got silence more or less, and we want to just keep going until all these hits don't trigger the gate. All we want to trigger the gate is the tom itself. There you go. That triggered it fine. But there is another problem. It cuts off far too fast. So we really want to increase the release until it sounds a little bit more realistic. Maybe a little bit more. That's much better. And now we can hear the other hits. And you are going to get a bit of leakage, but it's much better. And we're really not going to get all that leakage and all those problems. And now what we can do is we can sort of copy the settings that we just used onto the high tom. And this will at least be a great starting point. It may not be exactly right, but we can be sure that it's going to be close enough. So let's solo that as well now. We should be able to see both these gates working. So you can see both of those are now triggering nicely. And although they need some EQ, we fixed that problem with those files. So there's some trimming and some fades and some gating to attack the last problems in our audio files. And now we're ready to start applying some serious processing.